Hello, fellow nature nut. Are you down your favorite migrant bird has left you for the sunny south? Feeling sad that the forest, once full of life, is now frozen and still? Or just sick of being harassed by those overfed chickadees? Well, I'm here to tell you, don't despair. There's one avenue of birding for you to enjoy this winter, and that is weird duck time. Whether you're a birder or wildlife photographer or just looking to get out, there is a diversity of wondrous waterfowl to be seen near a water body near you. So spend a couple minutes with me to learn all about weird duck time, duck natural history and behavior, and how best to enjoy this time of the year. So what is weird duck time? Well, weird duck time was coined by this cartoonist named Rosemary Moscow. And she had a pretty funny cartoon about how spring and fall migration bring wondrous, beautiful things, and there's lots of kind of subtleties of the summer to enjoy as well. But in the winter months, birding gets a little more challenging perhaps. There's not as much stuff to see, but fortunately the winter does provide access to overwintering ducks, which can be pretty weird. And I guess I should say too that this video is focused on North America, although I'm sure there's weird duck times throughout the world. I think to examine weird duck time, we want to take a step back and look at duck life history in North America and the duck life cycle. So as we know, ducks are tied to water. They breed in a variety of habitats depending on the species. Millions of ducks breed in the Great Plains, in prairie pothole wetlands. This area is often referred to as the Great Duck Factory for this reason. Ducks also breed in boreal forest, in the wetlands and lakes there, as well as high up into the Arctic. The trouble with these habitats is in the fall and winter, they dry up or freeze, or stop providing the resources ducks need to survive. And so ducks are forced to migrate. Starting in the fall and continuing into the early winter, they will make their way to places called wintering grounds where they spend the winter. These are places that provide ducks resources to survive. So one of the most important resources is food. With colder temperatures, ducks, like other birds, have to increase their metabolic rate in order to stay warm and not freeze to death. So they need to find places where there is a density of food. Now this will be different places for different ducks, and we'll discuss that a little bit later in the video. It's not just food that they need to survive, however. They require some cover or safe places to rest. Another important behavioral adaptation for ducks is them trying to conserve energy during the winter. So they will often find sheltered bays that might provide some cover away from the elements. There are various physiological adaptations ducks have to survive winter. These include dense feathers, the ability to store body fat, heat exchange mechanisms in their legs to prevent their feet from losing heat to the environment, as well as the ability of freshwater species being able to increase the size of their salt glands to live in marine environments over the winter. Ducks congregating in one area is also important for how they respond to predators, such as peregrine falcon or bald eagle, that are also dealing with their own metabolic concern. With more eyes on the watch, they're more likely to see a predator incoming. And there's also the notion of safety in numbers, where if you're an individual and you're in a large group, there'll be less of a chance that you are the one eaten. And for those spending time in river environments, they often need safe islands where they can sleep and rest away from predators. But eating and surviving are not the only things ducks do in the winter. Unlike geese and swans that form lifelong pair bonds with a mate, ducks are serial monogamous, meaning they find a new mate every year. But unlike some other birds that form their pair bonds once they arrive on their breeding habitat, ducks actually start forming their pair bond on their overwintering habitat. So to help with this, ducks have another full molt once they arrive on their overwintering grounds in the fall or winter. So this is a really important thing to note about weird duck time. At this time of year, male ducks are in their breeding plumage. They're looking their best with their iridescent, colorful plumage. So that makes for great bird watching and also great for photography. They're looking sharp, they're in their best dress, and it's a great time to check them out. But plumage is not the only thing male ducks use to attract female. They also have a variety of behaviors that are pretty interesting to watch. These range from the head cock of common goldeneye to the nod of the mallard. Many ducks show several different of these behaviors, and it's really interesting to just sit on the side of a river and really watch these ducks do their thing, try to attract mates. There's some really bizarre behaviors, and I encourage you to watch out for them. One thing I should caution though, however, is later in the year, Duck courtship turns into duck mating behavior, and as many of us know, that can be a little violent, which is pretty off-putting. I'll never look at common mergansers the same way after I saw two males really brutalize a female in trying to mate with her, and so birding discretion is advised. So where to go to enjoy weird duck time? Different ducks have different habitat requirements, so you're going to see different species in different places. It makes sense, right? One of the best places is the ocean because you have the chance to see many species that breed far up in the Arctic or in other inaccessible places in North America. I'm thinking of ducks like the scoters, eiders, or long-tailed duck, those sort of things. Another great thing about the ocean is that you can see other non-duck waterfowl, things like loons and grebes. Scoters are a fantastic group. They will congregate in areas where there are concentration of their favorite foods, mussels growing in dense colonies, or other shellfish. They form groups known as rafts, which can number in the thousands. In North America, there are 3 scoter species, black and white-winged scoters being really good-looking ducks, but probably the weirdest duck, I must say, is the surf scoter. They have this bizarre clown-like face. They really just make me laugh. I'd say the runner-up weird ducks are the mergansers. These are fish-eating ducks that are found where there are concentrations of fish, often ocean environments or rivers too. There are 3 species in North America, being common, red-breasted, and hooded. Of those 3 species, I would say hooded mergansers are the weirdest species. Males have this white crest that they can erect, and the females have sort of this shaggy mullet. So another group to check out for are the diving ducks. So these are things like golden eyes, buffleheads, scops, those sort of ducks. These species are found where there is abundant macroinvertebrates. I think an interesting thing to think about is that while terrestrial insects disappear in the winter, places like rivers are still full of insects, their larvae, and they're active and ready to be preyed upon by ducks. Finally, who can forget the dabblers, things like mallards, American widgeon I enjoyed watching on the ocean last year. Some habitats provide food for multiple different types of ducks. So that's a really nice thing about weird duck time, whether you're at the ocean or a river, you can see a large diversity, large number of species of ducks all together. Gives you the chance to compare and contrast them. I was birding in Calgary the other day and had the chance to see a Barrow's goldeneye right next to a Commons goldeneye. Really gives you that chance to study their plumage, study their differences. So if you're looking to get weird with ducks, here are some tips to help you get the most out of weird duck time. Well, first, find some open water near you. I'm here in Alberta at 51 degrees latitude, so it's a cold climate here. Many water bodies have frozen up, but despite that, there are some open water areas to enjoy, and you can see diversity of species there. So once you find a good ducky spot, first try to identify those ducks. Often the flocks will be dominated by a few common species, but there can be some rare ducks mixed in. So I already mentioned seeing Barrow's goldeneye mixed in with common goldeneye. Last year, I enjoyed trying to pick out Eurasian widgeons from groups of American widgeon. And last week, I was fortunate enough to see a ringneck duck, which don't overwinter here in very large numbers. So try to look at every duck and you might find some interesting things. So next, have a look at the duck's behavior. What are they doing? How are individuals interacting? Both members of opposite sex or members of the same sex. It is a really dynamic situation with their breeding system, and it can make for some really interesting observations. I think another thing to note is ducks are hunted, and either through selection or learning, they know they are. So it can be tricky to get close to these ducks. Personally, I'm not too interested in spending hours in a blind, maybe someday, but I like accessibility and being able to check out an area quick. I always recommend just sitting down. That just reduces the human outline and just kind of maybe makes the ducks a little more relaxed about your presence. So bring something like a seating pad, maybe a stool, and sit down next to the ducks, and they might get a little more used to you and get a little closer for a better view or photograph. To have the best view of ducks, you may want optics with a little extra reach. If you are looking to photograph weird ducks, I would recommend something with a little longer reach. So either something like a super zoom camera or a telephoto lens, maybe with a teleconverter. I'll use my 200 to 500 millimeter Nikon with a 1.4 times teleconverter. So in summary, the winter can be challenging as a birder or wildlife photographer, but ducks give a great opportunity to learn more about biology, natural history, ecology, animal behavior, and it is really a rich viewing experience. And I really encourage you to get out and look at some weird ducks. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. I hope you're enjoying it. Watch for more nature content like this, and until next time, happy birding.